Երևանյան երկխոսություն համաժողովի շրջանակում մեր հյուրն է Հունգարիայի արտգործնախարար Péter Szijjártón։ Զրուցելու ենք Հունգարիա-Հայաստան երկկողմ հարաբերություններից, Հարավային Կովկասում խաղաղության գործընթացներից եւ համաշխարհային միտումներից։ Thank you, Mr. Szijjártó, for this opportunity and this interview. The Armenian side has stated that deepening relations with Hungary is its priority in the foreign policy, and I would also like to remind our viewers about the decision to open the resident embassy in Budapest. How would you assess the current situation in our bilateral relations, and what are the key areas identified for cooperation?
Well, I really do have great feelings about what we have achieved so far regarding the relationship between the two countries of ours, because if you look back 3-4 years ago, that was a very politically hostile kind of relationship between the two countries for various reasons. And then we have made a decision together, led by mutual will, to improve this relationship, because it's so easy to understand that you can take much more benefit out of a good relationship than out of a bad one. So we started to repair things. And I think we can be rightfully proud of what we have achieved so far. It's not only that Armenia is opening its embassy in Budapest this year, but Hungary is opening its embassy here in Yerevan. We have already picked the building, so the necessary refurbishments are going on, and then during autumn we're going to be able to practically open the embassy. We have intensified our economic cooperation in a way that we have broken the record of trade volume between the two countries ever. In the meantime, the Hungarian airline is establishing a base of it at the Yerevan airport, through which your capital will be connected with 18 destinations worldwide, which will make Armenia much more interconnected to the world. We are also happy with our humanitarian cooperation. We are providing financial support to the Armenian church and to those families who are now returning from the Karabakh area. And then we also provide further scholarships for students from Armenia on the Hungarian universities every year. We're just signing the extension of this cooperation. Plus, we will have the honor to receive 150 young people, kids, children from Armenia, from families returning for summer vacation in Hungary. That has been a tradition now, and we keep on doing that in the future as well. Plus, we are supporting the EU integration path and efforts of Armenia, with no doubt. So I think this relationship is totally different from the one it used to be a couple of years ago. And this progress, I think, proves that it makes sense to invest into repairing a relationship which went wrong for some reasons.
About the peace processes in our region, Armenia and Azerbaijan have finalized the peace agreements, and Armenia has officially stated that we are ready to discuss the place and time for signing this agreement, but Azerbaijani side has some preconditions. How do you assess the importance of signing this peace agreement as soon as possible?
Our government is a pro-peace government, as Hungarian nation is a peaceful nation, and we have been living in the shadow of a war in Ukraine for 3 years now. You know, Ukraine is a neighboring country to us, so if there's a country, if there's a nation which understands the importance of peace and understands the challenges put forward by a war in the neighborhood, then it's us Hungarians. So we support the peace process. We try to contribute with our modest means, let's put it this way. At the end of 2021, people here in Armenia might remember that we were successful in repatriating 5 Armenian prisoners of war who were able to return to their families through a mediation provided by Hungary. We hope we can be instrumental in the future as well. We have made our proposal both to the Armenian and the Azeri side. that Budapest would be happy to host the signing of this peace agreement, which would definitely be historic. I have congratulated to both of my colleagues, both foreign ministers from both countries, when I heard the news about the conclusion of the text of the peace agreement. I do hope that the talks between the two countries will progress in a way that signing will be possible soon. And once again, I want to reiterate our offer here in front of the Armenian public as well, that Hungary, Budapest, would be proud to host the signing ceremony of this very important agreement.
You've mentioned about prisoners of war, and taking into account Hungary's relations and ties with the Azerbaijani side, maybe there are some initiatives that Hungary want to initiate regarding that fact that there are 23 prisoners of war held in Azerbaijan.
Yeah, you know, the fact that we have proved to be successful once already, I think gives the authorization to us to keep this issue on the agenda. So we have made this offer to the Azeris as well, that if there's a chance and if they need a mediator, if they need someone who, let's say, implements or carries out this process, then we are very happy to be instrumental to any kind of process, outcome of which would be the return of these people to their homes if possible. So we don't want to be pushy, because I mean we don't want to ruin things, because in such cases if you are too pushy you might be able to ruin things which have already been accomplished. But we offer ourselves as an interlocutor, as a mediator, as an instrument, and whenever we are needed, we are here.
There have been unofficial reports that in April Hungary has blocked a 10 million euro EU assistance package for Armenia, and this aid is reportedly intended to strengthen the non-lethal defense capabilities of Armenia. Could you please comment on Hungary's position regarding this matter?
Sure, I'm a bit sad about this kind of, let's say, public understanding of the situation, because the truth is somewhat different. So we generally support a lot, and we support actively the cooperation between European Union and Armenia. You know, we have, for example, 7 staff members of the EU mission in Armenia, mandate of which was just recently prolonged with the consent of Hungary as well. We are active supporters of the visa liberalization process, and practically speaking, we see Armenia fulfilling those requirements and those milestones which have been required by the European Union. So we would be in favor of even accelerating that. We are in favor of the partnership schedule to be accelerated between the EU and Armenia. When it comes to the European Peace Facility, we have a principled position which was represented last time when you got the funding, and this is being represented this time as well. Since you have never been as close to the peace agreement as now, we think European Union should behave in a way that once we give someone to one part, should be an equal support to the other one. That's why last time, when you got 10 million euros from the European Peace Facility, we absolutely agreed. We just asked the European Commission to provide a similar assistance, non-lethal, to Azerbaijan from whatever source, which they did. So this time we have nothing against Armenia receiving 20 million euros from European Peace Facility. We have just one plea to the European Commission that a similar kind of assistance happens to Azerbaijan as well. So there will be no tensions created by the European Union unintentionally. So that's the only thing. Technical question. I have ensured my friend Ararat that we have nothing principle against supporting Armenia from EPF. We just want both countries to be supported in a similar way by European Union, because we don't want European Union to be the reason for any, let's say, accidental consequences which none of us would want to see.
Again, about our region. Armenia has introduced the Crossroads of Peace initiative aimed at enhancing regional security and cooperation, and this initiative has received the international support. And what is Hungary's official stance on this proposal, and how does Budapest views its potential impact on the region?
Well, I do believe that the more active economic, trade and infrastructural cooperation takes place, it's the better chance for peace to come into the region. Because if countries cooperate with each other on practical terms, then people can see the practical benefit of having good relationship instead of having bad relationship. It's much better to have peace than having a war. So we have always supported any kinds of peace initiatives coming through practical issues which help the living standards of the people to be enhanced.
And since Donald Trump's election, there has been ongoing discussion about US and Brussels relations, with concern that the United States is distancing itself from the European Union. And how does Hungary position itself in the evolving transatlantic context?
Look, we have a really friendly relationship with President Trump. We have supported him throughout his years in opposition as well. The reason for that is very simple. We have a very similar approach to the most significant challenges of the world to be addressed compared to him. So we are mates in this revolution for common sense and the revolution against international liberal mainstream, for sure. We approach issues of war, migration, family, LGBT propaganda in a very similar way as he does. So therefore we were happy that he was elected. But I'm afraid to say that we were the only ones in Europe to have these kinds of feelings. Many European leaders have openly supported the Democrats throughout the election process. Many of the European leaders have behaved in a very inappropriate way towards President Trump, making very nasty remarks on him throughout the recent years. So I think it's not a surprise that relationship is having some hiccups, let's put it this way. We are absolutely in favor of a good EU-US relations. That's why we have proposed to the European Commission to decrease the tariffs imposed by the European Union on the United States right after President Trump entered office. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. European Commission has not decreased the tariffs against the US, and now the US is making the steps we all know about. Not too many knows that before President Trump entered office, European Union was applying 10% tariffs on automotive imports from US, while US was only imposing 2.5% tariffs on European automotive imports. So it would have been very easy for the European Union to cut tariffs applied by European Union, which was not done, and this is the outcome. So I regret to say, but the inappropriate behavior of European leaders ended up in such a situation.
There are some tensions between Budapest and Brussels, as well as in the context of Ukrainian war in Ukraine, and regarding sanctions against Russia. What's the situation now?
Well, there's a very serious tension in this case, because we are the only ones, basically in the European Union, who have not delivered weapons to Ukraine. We are the only ones who have been arguing in favor of ceasefire and peace talks since the war had been launched. We are the only ones who speak clearly about the approach that this war does not have a solution on the battlefield, but around the negotiating table. For this position of ours, we have been, considered as traitors, as spies of the Russians, as propagandists of the Kremlin. And now everybody speaks in favor of peace talks and ceasefire, especially those who have been attacking us for this position. So it's very hypocritical, I would say. I regret to say that many of the European leaders are in favor of prolonging this war, which goes totally against the interests of ours. We do believe that the channels of communication with the Russians must be kept open, as President Trump has been doing it. Unfortunately, European leaders are doing the different way. And when it comes to sanctions, I think it's a very pragmatic question. Did sanctions help or they did harm? And did they harm Europe? They did harm Europe because the Russian economy is definitely not on its knees, while the European competitiveness has shrinked a lot. We are not closer to peace compared to where we used to be when we started sanctions to be applied. Plus, with cutting the energy ties between Europe and Russia, the impact is that in Europe we pay 2-3 times higher price for gas and 4 or 5 times higher price for electricity than in the US or in China. So it's very complicated, I would say almost impossible to build a competitive European economy under these circumstances.
Regarding negotiation process between Russia and Ukraine, as we see after 3 years in Istanbul, they had negotiations, but no breakthrough, tangible breakthrough. And what do you see for these sites, for Kyiv and Moscow, to do to reach that peace?
Well, I think after 3 years of war, it was not really realistic to think that one round of negotiations will end this whole tragic situation. Therefore, I do believe and I do hope that this round of negotiations will be followed by new ones. So the more rounds of negotiations will take place, the bigger chance will be for peace. You can't solve this crisis with only one round of negotiations. We all know that 3 years ago, back in Istanbul, like March 2022, they almost came to an agreement, but then Western Europeans have, let's say, instructed President Zelensky to continue. Unfortunately, that time the agreement has not been completed. If the agreement had been completed there at that time, many people would not have died. A big bunch of destruction would not taken place, and Ukraine would be in a much better shape than now. Plus, Europe would be in a much better shape. Plus, there wouldn't have been war for another years. So I think that those Western politicians who have put obstacle to the agreement back 3 years ago have a huge responsibility in what has been happening. So what I hope is that based on the encouragement of President Trump, both Ukrainians and Russians will continue the discussions and the negotiations, because this is the only way we see as a realistic way forward.
Thank you, Mr. Minister, for this interview.
I also appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Մեր հյուրն էր Հունգարիայի արտգործնախարար Պետեր Szijjártón. Շնորհակալ եմ մեզ հետևելու համար։